Okay, so reading Reddit, it's become apparent that people are seriously confused about what is and isn't a meta party build. So I figured I'd just do an update quickly and show everybody in more detail what these characters are doing. Because they are not fucking meta, not even close, Jesus Christ. So, I mean, we'll start with Los. Los is pretty simple. So, normally with this build, where you do the Pyro two-handed build, the thing is you're not really going in that much on two-handed. You'd be maxing out your Pyro skill first and trying to deal damage through the spells that way. You end up getting two-handed later because of the critical multipliers. You can see it increases the damage, and then you use that with Savage Sortilege, which I actually haven't bothered with this one because, as I'll explain in a moment, you use lots of spells when you do this build normally. So look at Ovis here. Big one is you do stuff like you leap in, use spontaneous combustion. The big one, of course, is supernova. You explode all over stuff and do tons of damage. And then with Savage Sortilege, you're looking for crits. So you'll have a high crit stat by the end of the game. It'll be like 50% or higher quite easily. And you'll be having all of these spells go off with Savage Sortilege, and then that combos with the two-handed aspect because of the critical damage multiplier. So that's the big thing there. So you're playing a two-hander class, but you actually don't use the two-hander very much. Where I've taken this differently is because, as you can see, Los doesn't really use a lot of nukes. I've got Fireball as a filler because sometimes I run out of stuff to do. And most of her skill set is around attacking stuff and melee, actually just physically beating stuff with the staff. So that's where it's different from normal. This isn't particularly meta. I think someone called it a Flame Zerka build because you actually end up taking the staff and smashing stuff with the staff rather than using the spells to blow stuff up. Let's have a look at Sebille. Sebille, as you can see, Warfare, that's pretty standard. What's different with Sebille is the stat split. Sebille's playing as a rogue, basically the dagger. But she's only got 28 in finesse, 21 in strength, 18 in wits. When you're playing a rogue, normally you just dump everything into finesse. There's no point to have strength, there's no point to have wits because you auto crit, so what's the point of it? Everything just goes in finesse. However, obviously I was making these builds not optimal and off meta and stuff like that, so I only got one dagger. Because I wanted to have the character roleplay, as stupid as this is the sort of Renaissance era, you have a sword and a parrying dagger and you fight like that. So I decided to go with that. It's not really a rogue per se, it's more like a warfare with some rogue skills, but that was the idea. So to make that work, I had to take the strength weapon, because one of the ideas I had for the build was, you see the strength weapons tend to have more interesting effects, whereas the daggers are just mostly just, oh, this one's actually pretty different. It's got the blind and stuff. But a lot of the daggers are mostly like they do bleeds and stuff. They don't do a lot of hard CC. Whereas the one-handed weapons have interesting stuff like cleave, or this one I was using for a while actually, which I'm hoping I can get it upgraded. Apparently someone posted that the Fletcher guy can upgrade your weapons if you sell them to them after a while. But this one was working for ages. In fact, with all the magical armor stripping, having frozen and shield, like Sebille would just sit on top of enemies and she would just keep like 2 or 3 of them frozen at a time. It was actually pretty amazing. So I'm hoping this one can get upgraded later. And it's also got increased critical chance, which is really nice. But yeah, this is not a standard rogue. Only one dagger, putting points in strength, putting points in wits. This is not normal at all. And because of that, I can't have that many rogue skills because the rogue skills don't work. The rogue skills are like throwing knife, stuff like that, rupture tendons, they only hit once a lot of the time because I don't use both daggers. When I was using throwing knife, I was noticing it was only triggering like 1 instance of damage, whereas I think normally it does 2. So I stopped using them as much. In fact, an extra point there, I put that on now. But yeah, she uses a lot of that instead. The warfare skills, and then there's a lot of follow-up CC as well from the polymorph. And again, splitting stats is not normal for damage classes. And this is a custom character. I picked this one partially because I want another elf for flesh sacrifice, obviously pretty useful. Offset the party not being fully efficient. And the other reason I wanted a custom character, I actually really wanted to use Red Princess playthrough, but between Fane and I think the custom character being almost 100% necessary to make up for the party's shortcomings, I really needed Doma Protection. It's a stupid safety bubble that's necessary, but for honor mode, I don't want to lose this playthrough. It'd really be quite annoying. So I've got extra points in defensive gear I normally wouldn't use in a standard tactician playthrough, but Dome Protection, and then this is also why I've got 4 I've got all in on the idols. I've got 4 of these because I really don't want to restart. It'd be quite painful. But anyway, this character, as you can see, finesse and intelligence, not a normal build at all. That's because I was trying to recreate something from Neverwinter's Nights in Dungeons & Dragons, which is the Arcane Archer. So the idea is the character uses spells, but also uses the arrows. And I'm basically using the arrows not so much for damage. Like every now and then if I've got a character, like an enemy that's had physical armor stripped, I might just shoot it a bit if I don't need the CC. But these are actually just acting as extra spells, consumable spells that I can use. So I need to chill something, freezing arrow, I need to stun something, a shock arrow, I need to knock something down because the physical armor's gone. Use a knockdown arrow, I've got the charm arrows obviously, really useful. In fact, I keep forgetting to use them. I should probably craft a lot more than 2. I've only got 3 left, but anyway. But again, this character, physical damage split along, because he actually does do some physical damage. In fact, the fight that I posted, Aetera was getting shot in 1 round just because didn't have anything else to do with the character and she had too much magical armor, so just used the physical damage. But yes, physical damage and magical damage is not a normal split at all. I don't know why people seem to think this is a meta build for whatever reason. Skill-wise, fairly normal. It's mostly focusing on 2 trees. In fact, I should probably get some more Huntsmen now that I think about it. She could really use a couple of points in that. Otherwise, put for this. Oh, that's pretty normal. And we go Fane. So Fane, using ambidextrous, you can see he's not using... I actually wanted to build this as an ambidextrous Captain America, where he uses no primary weapon, but uses a shield. But unfortunately, ambidextrous doesn't work with a shield, because you can't put the shield in the primary weapon slot. So that was disappointing, but we're dealing with that. It also works with 2-handed weapons for some reason. That doesn't make any sense, but it does. It works like that. But the idea behind Fane is I want to get to the end game and he's just going to be carrying a shitload of scrolls and stuff and he's going to do the back end of arcs with just basically a whole ton of scrolls. It's going to be a lot of fun doing that. Otherwise, his build's relatively normal, mostly intelligence, obviously because he's got a lot more memory than you would normally have, and that's because, as you can see here, he is putting points into fucking pretty much everything. I'm skipping Warfare because just that one's kind of pointless for him. Summoning also because it's ridiculously strong, and also you have to put, to make it ridiculously strong, you have to put all the points into it, so we're skipping those 2. And Polymorph, and I felt like having a second one was a little cheesy, so I didn't go with it. And then I've got a few points this. I'm actually gearing him for leadership. Now leadership I actually think is overpowered, so I'm not putting tons of points on it. I'm just purely getting points of leadership from what I can find in gear. And this means his gear is going to become somewhat under-leveled, I would say. But that's okay, because you don't need maximum level gear to make an effective character. But yes, otherwise, normally if you were building like a mage that would straight up do damage, you would so I would pick Aerotheurge, I would pick Hydrothist, and I would put all the points into that, and then maybe I'd have a little bit, like a value point Pyrokinetic for things like Peace of Mind and Haste, which are really strong. Maybe a couple of points, and probably a couple of points of Huntsman, because Tactical Retreat and First Aid are really strong, but otherwise, probably wouldn't bother with Geomancer, just everything in Aerotheurge, everything in Hydrothist, and I probably actually wouldn't even bother with Geomancer, just heal them with poison potions and stuff like that. I've got this purely because these Fossil Strike and Empowerment are really strong as just tech skills. In fact, I think that's why Morella's got the same. Yeah, she's got Fossil Strike as well. Otherwise, I hope that clears that up. These guys, I can't believe people think. For fuck's sake, guys, I have a Strength, Finesse, Wits, Rogue. What the fuck? That's not meta.